Ciao, paisanos. Welcome back to our favorite Serie A and Italian football podcast, Calcio Culture. This is Vos, joined by both my co-hosts, Logs and Motts today. This weekend, we had match day 22. A lot of good games. This week, we got Champions League, Europa League, and at the weekend, match week 23. A lot of footy being played.
Lot of footy, lot of good footy. Let's not get that mixed up. We've seen some great soccer being played out there. What's going on, Paisans? It's great to be back. We have a ton to cover today. A ton. Looking forward to it, and happy to have both of you guys here.
Yeah, for a second there, I thought it was match week 23. I had to quickly go check. Bose was correct. It is
I thought it was match week 3.
It was match week 22, technically 12 because it doesn't really start till match week 10. But glad to be here. Got a lot to cover, like Logue said. Very excited. But as always, what were you saying, Motts?
I think this was my favorite match weekend of the year so far. I don't think there were as many crazy matchups, but there were some really good games.
Yeah,
there were some good games.
The quality is certainly showing through. You actually can't miss a single game these days, not even at the bottom of the table.
And then, we topped it off today. We had a great game, kind of lower level, but still great. But we got quick shots. Logs, you're here. Kick it off.
Quick shouts. Guys, I love this segment. It just gets me going. I am starting it off today with a little shout to a controversial topic, I would say, that's been controversial since the genesis of its introduction into footy. But today's quick shout goes out to VAR and goal line technology. Every single week, there's something to be said about VAR not knowing what they're doing, incorrect usage, goal line technology, maybe not getting it right, maybe it has no place in footy. But when it comes down to it, and you take a Sunday to watch the NFL championships, and they refuse to integrate such simple technology into the game that could simply correct a lot of calls and not leave it up to human error and not let that terrorist Roger Goodell decide matchups for us. All they have to do is put a little chippy chip in the football, line it up on the field that's exactly the same across the league, and let it ride. Makes no sense. Shouts to everyone involved in bringing VAR, bringing goal line technology to fruition. I have to say today, I'm very much appreciative of the technology in soccer.
I think VAR and goal line technology are two very different things. Like VAR you can get a offsides by like a pinky toe or a pinky, whereas in goal line technology is like they see if the ball fully went over the goal to then allow the goal. So I like the goal line technology if they can implement it in a different sport like American football. I think it would be beneficial, but like I don't think you should loop VAR and goal line technology together because they're two very different things.
To continue on the VAR piece of this and bring it back to American football, one thing that I wish our football took on was a clear and obvious aspect, because in the NFL, the refs actually like that clear and obvious now has come up so much that it actually is like a very clear bar you have to reach in the NFL. Like 90% of the time, like clear and everybody watches a replay. We're like, oh, clear and obvious or not. That piece needs to get brought to Europe. Like offsides, done with the lines. Is it clear and obvious? Nope. Okay, he's onside. Let's get back to that.
I do agree with that. The offsides is one thing. VAR is nice. They should. We talked about this before. They should institute VAR after games to see if they should institute some yellow cards for. Vos has been saying it. They should take after action reviews after games to review flopping. And if you get caught flopping egregiously, you should get a yellow card after the game, which again counts towards your yellow card for the season. I think it would make, in Vos, you probably said the best, it would make a huge difference throughout the game. It would take a little bit for people to get used to it, but I think everyone would stop flopping if they knew that after the game, someone was watching them.
Yeah. And it's not even getting used to it. Right? It doesn't affect that. The best part about this is it doesn't affect the game. Like the game still happens as is. You just get suspended if you flop all the time, period. Like it just makes so much sense that I don't know why it wouldn't just be done.
They should be listening to us more. But in any case, we're going back to footy. We're going back to European football. global football at that. And we're on the PJ again, boys. We haven't been on the PJ in a while, but we are going to England. And we are talking about our fellow Paisans showing out in the Prem. This weekend, Calafiori, Motts' Gumar outside of Serie A, puts in the winning goal for a 10-man Arsenal. A beauty, if I may, to bring them to 3 points. Love to see that out of a center back. Obviously, we knew he had the talent. He's showing out. One that brings a tear to my eye, Sandro Tonali, with his first goal of the season for Newcastle. You would have thought that he would have scored more already, but in any case, a beautiful run. I mean, this was prime Tonali. Wins the ball in the defensive third, a tough ball, and doesn't stop. Beelines it through the lines. Couple of passes, and Anthony Gordon sees him, plays a through ball. He is by himself. Tonali did this a million times for AC, just streaking down the field, one-on-one with the goalie, composed as fuck, puts it away. Beautiful goal, beautiful play by Tonali, making AC look like idiots. Again, I think someone tweeted it out. I saw it. I should have retweeted it. Open checkbook from AC to Newcastle. Open checkbook.
No,
that guy.
You nailed this. This was like the perfect example of what Sandro Tonali is as a player. Like, wins the ball, defensive third, delivers a pass, and then runs like 90 yards to then finish it off. Again, did it a million times at AC. It's a shame that he's in the Premier League. He didn't even want to be there. When it happened, he didn't want to go. There's all the stories about him in the boardroom not wanting to go, crying about it. It's ridiculous. On the Calafiori thing, we'd be talking about him way more if he had stayed healthy this year. When he does play, he makes headlines actually every single time.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say about Calafiori. Obviously, I knew you guys were going to probably take the Tonali, so I wanted to take the Calafiori approach. Obviously, because that's my boy. Arsenal fans are saying that he's a bust. It's just he hasn't stayed healthy. When he's played, he always is making an impact on the game. He has, as a defender, playing left back for Arsenal, has played in less games than Coop Miners and has more goals than him. And those two both were the two debate of who Juve should sign, and they always went with Coop Miners. So there's a little stat for you in terms of what Coop Miners does when he does play, or Calafiori.
Shout out to our paisans abroad, as they say. Vos, what's going on from the Saudi League?
Yeah, from the Saudi League. We got to bring this one up because I think it's just international headlines. Neymar has officially re-signed for Santos, going back to Brazil. This one made sense for all parties. We could talk about Neymar a little bit if we really want to, but he's probably a good example of a player that's, if he had made different decisions, what could have been. And we talked about it with Paul Pogba. I know Neymar doesn't really have any ties to Serie A, but what could have been? I mean, this guy definitely, people would have said he would have won a Ballon d'Or following their Champions League treble winning season with Barcelona, was one of the best players in the world. Things obviously didn't go well from there, went to PSG and then ultimately in Saudi.
Oh, things went well. He just wanted out. He wanted his own team, went to PSG, and then obviously Mbappe came. But let me say a little bit something about this man Neymar here. Talk about just robbing an organization. He made $110 million, and he played 2 games for Al Hilal, I believe he's on over there.
Yeah, I think it was Al Hilal.
He negotiated his contract that if he just posts about the team, he gets like $400,000 a post. He got a free house. He absolutely robbed the organization blind, and then comes out and he realizes he's probably gonna leave. Comes out and says, "Oh, I guess this isn't a negative part," but he says that, "Oh, this league is better than the France league that I went and played for 5-6 years." So he's just crapping on the league that he went to go to, and then robbing another team. So I mean, I agree. Neymar is a very big story in terms for me of what could have been. He probably won't be, in my opinion, remembered for. The only thing he'll be remembered for are his flares and how he played, but it could have been so much more than what it actually is.
I just think it's sick that. Go ahead, Vos.
Yeah, just to bring it full circle, I'm happy that he went back to Santos, because this was when we were all playing like FIFA 13. Neymar was on Santos, like one of the best Ultimate Team players. Had the mohawk going, was fucking nasty. So I like to see things go full circle like this, and guys end up where they started.
I'm just happy that I don't have to go to AliExpress anymore to get a Neymar Santos jersey. I will be for sure ordering that kit from a real website this time.
Love it.
But that brings us to another Ultimate Team legend, I would say. Raja Nainggolan making headlines in multiple
Another
ways
Mohawk too.
this week.
Yeah.
Another Mohawk guy. I will say, no hate for Raja Nainggolan from this pod. I don't know if people do know this or not, but he moved way back when to Cagliari, actually, back to his original team because his wife had cancer. He had made the request, I think from Roma, to go back to his hometown team to make sure that his wife could be home during that time. So shout out to him. Also shout out for his Olympico this week. A beautiful Olympico. It's amazing it doesn't happen more with the talent and with the accuracy that people should have from a free kick, but a beautiful Olympico. And then tough news. Raja, he's running a drug circle. Really, really tough out of him. You'd like to see a little bit of a better behavior off the field. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Not promoting the drug circle, just saying you got to do what you got to do.
Take the man off the streets, but can't take the street out of the man.
Oh, another one you were just waiting to share. Another one you just had in the pocket. I love it. Oh, God. Well, guys, listen. That takes it through the external quick shouts. We have a couple of self-promoting quick shouts.
Before we do the
I
self-promoting
think
one,
Motts wants to say something.
yeah, before we do the self-promoting one, I do want to quick shout something that we haven't talked about, which I feel like we should have talked about in terms of quick shouts or just in general, and that is the Lazio eagle holder, or the guy who releases the eagle for pregame. I don't know what it's called,
Talisman.
but that guy. How do we not cover that? Is my question. So
I did let Vos veto this one, but
that can't be vetoed.
We'll let Motts cover this one. It's a specialty.
Yeah, Motts, you can take this one. Yeah.
So basically, the Lazio, whatever you call it, the guy who kind of handles the eagle for them,
the eagle handler.
Yeah, he got a penile implant and then posted it on social media, and then Latito fired him. But he was actually fired 3 or 4 years prior because he did one of those, I forgot what they're called, one of those the Hitler salutes. And then
I think that's what's
he fired him for like a couple months, and Latito was like, "All right, you paid your due. Now you're hired again." And then now he did this, so he got fired again. But I'm wondering, is Latito going to be like, "All right, you paid your 6 months," but to top it off, to take it even further, he heard about the firing, and then he barricaded himself in the club with the eagle, so he's like holding the eagle hostage.
Well, he does live on the Lazio training grounds. Like, that's where his actual home is. So I think he does live with the Eagle full time.
Well, I'm sure it was in his contract.
Hostage.
I'm sure his contract says I can live here, but if he's fired, I'm sure he probably can't live there anymore. But if you guys have seen the photo, the doctor did a good job.
I cannot say I've seen the photo, but I'll take your word for it. We will not be posting that on the social. So if you want to see, you've got to go somewhere else.
Yeah, but that's just classic Lazio and Latito there. Those how they're making headlines. But I feel like we had to not shout it out or just talk about it because we are a Serie A podcast, and that is getting national news. Like I heard it on Part of My Take the other day, so I wanted to talk about it.
Unreal. Well, in any case, speaking of socials, shout out to our man here, Bose. If you guys haven't been paying attention, we've got some fresh new templates out there. We are tracking it every week. We should have been doing this from the beginning, but our artiste on the team here has had some new graphics out there. So give him some love, give it a favor, give it a retweet on Twitter. I think it's on Instagram, or if it's not, it will be. But shout out Vos for some great content.
Thanks, Lex. And speaking of our favorite template, Colpi di Luna. Colpi's. We have another Colpi hit. We hit all 3 legs this past weekend.
First one back since the new year. First Colpi, well, second Colpi.
Second.
But I didn't pick a leg in the first one, so.
No, we're hot. Since match week 10, we've been really hot. I think we've hit 4 now since match week 10, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I was so in total we've hit 4. But if we take when the Serie A actually starts, match week 10, we're like what 4 of 13 or something like that's crazy. That's
And on top of that, we're just hitting a ton of legs. Like even if we don't hit all three, we're hitting like 2 out of 3 every time right now.
That's why you bet them all single. That's why you bet the full Colby, because you just never know. We know, but you guys never know. That's why you got to bet it. You always bet the Colby.
We got to get the Colby more out there. Colby's going to put us on the map because of how hot it's been. We got a really good percentage. We're keeping score at the end of the year. We'll give you guys an update on where we are. But that takes us off of social media, brings us to footy. We got Champions League this week. We got to talk about that quick. Lugs, what's going on? We got match day 8.
Match day 8. It's the final regular match day of what I guess you would call the group round. Group, not groups. Group round. And I just have to say that while I don't agree with how many games they're playing, I think this could have been done with 6. Shout out to my boy Eduardo from the office. We were talking about this today. But the 8th match day format for Wednesday. Today is Monday, so Wednesday. You guys will be listening. This will be tomorrow. Every game is at the same damn time. I love that. We have some pivotal games happening. I could not tell you which ones matter because I'm only focused on Serie A, but they are all happening at the same time. If you don't have more than 2 monitors, get more, buy more, Amazon Prime them. You need to be watching all the games at the same time. 3 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, it's all going down. I love that format.
Yeah, big game for Juventus. I know that for a fact because they obviously don't know how to do anything besides draw. And if they stay like where they are, which is in the 15 to 18 range, they could very well be looking at a playoff match against either Manchester City, PSG, Real Madrid, or Bayern Munich, which would suck. Obviously, a lot can change in the standings over one game if Juventus can get all 3 points and some teams can lose. They can kind of avoid that, but that is their fate right now. And let me tell you something. They played Benfica 2 years ago in the Champions League, and Benfica embarrassed them.
Embarrassed.
Yeah,
Benfica. Stat of the day, though.
Stat of the day. I don't know if it's kind of a weird one because we're 7 matches played of the 8. And to be fair, we did have 1 extra slot. But as of now, Serie A clubs so there's 3 teams that are qualified for as of right now, are in the bye. So they finish in the top 8. You get a bye in the first round. Serie A is the most clubs that are in the top 8. Pretty impressive out of them. Notably,
yes,
Inter so far has conceded 1 goal, which is pretty impressive given the caliber of teams you're playing in the Champions League. And then to kick it on even further than that, out of everybody qualifying for the next round, Serie A is also tied with the most teams going through. The only team not going through right now is Bologna, and they are fully out of it at this point. They're kind of missing out by 2 points. Pretty impressive. That's what you want to do. That's what you need to do to maintain that 5th spot coming into next season. And then we look at the Europa League and we look at the Conference League, and the Serie A clubs are performing well there as well.
Yeah, and what I can say about the 5th spot, I was scrolling on Twitter and I saw this. It does seem to be like there's 2 spots that they're giving. 2 leagues will get a 5th spot this year. The Premier League has it pretty much wrapped up in terms of a percentage, although there's still a lot of games left, so anything can happen. The Premier League's got like a 94% chance of getting it, and then the Serie A has like a 75% chance, and then the next closest was like this La Liga with like 24%, and the Bundesliga is like that 0. So if the Serie A clubs can continue to perform in the all European leagues, they should be able to get that 5th spot, which at this rate, mine and Logan's clubs are looking like we are going to need that.
Need a 5th spot.
But to take you guys through the games that are happening on Wednesday, they're all happening at the same time, so I guess we can't really go in order. Atalanta going to Barcelona, that's going to be a really crazy game.
That game right there, that screams Atalanta. The Atalanta might put 8 in. Barcelona's line is so high. They let Benfica score 4 goals, I think, last week. Atalanta, all they do is attack. This could scream absolute rout for Atalanta, but Barcelona do attack as well. So take the over in that game.
Yeah, I think you can go over.
Rail the over.
Yeah, over 4.5 might even hit in this one. There could be 1 million goals. Not 200. Yeah. The next one. Your boys.
I mean, I talked about it. Benfica at Juventus. Big game for Juventus. Benfica's been having some issues. They're screaming at their coach. But return of Di Maria, love Di Maria, classy guy. Love the year that he spent at Juve. Big game for Juventus. They need to get all 3 points.
And then we do have Milan playing at Dynamo Zagreb. We talk about it a lot. Going to Eastern European teams is never easy. I am not calling this a win. I know Coach Sao definitely wants to get the dub. I think if we get 1 point out of this, I'll be happy. And I think that solidifies our spot in the top 8, which will be great. I don't think we survive a playoff game. So fingers crossed for at least 1 point against Dynamo Zagreb.
Yeah, really important that they get at least a draw out of this one. And even then, on goal differential, things could happen. So they kind of need a win. They're on 15 points. Aston Villa's in the 9th spot on 13 +5 goal differential. Milan's got a +4. It's a little scary. Atalanta's kind of in the same boat. Everybody kind of needs to win again, which is odd. Usually this game means nothing.
We'll see. Fingers crossed. I think we've got a win in us, but I'll take it.
Play to win every game. Stop playing for these draws.
Yeah, true.
Look
a team
who's
that's
talking.
definitely
Look
gonna
who's
be,
talking.
Just wait till we get to Juventus.
Another team playing. We got Inter. We just talked about them. They're hosting Monaco. Monaco's kind of been up and down in the Champions League. Definitely not a team you can take lightly, but Inter, to me, look like a team that can go on to win this. Not conceding goals is a very important part about winning the Champions League, and they're doing that phenomenally.
Listen, that's a bold take right there, Vos.
Why? They're in 4th place.
It's very much not. They should obviously win this game. Why would they not win this game?
Oh, I was talking about the
They're at
Champions
home.
League. I said the Champions League.
Yes,
The whole
Inter should beat
Champions League.
Monaco. Oh,
No, the whole
entire
thing.
champion.
Yeah.
Oh,
The whole
okay.
tourney.
I thought we were talking about this game against
No,
Monaco.
they're definitely going to win this game.
Okay.
Saying the entire Champions League. I like them. I
mean,
do.
that's their goal that they set out for at the start of the season. That's why they brought in the players they brought in for their depth. It's to win the Champions League and the Scudetto. So they got to get far.
They
That's
do
for
gotta get
sure.
far. The last game going on, we got Bologna traveling to Lisbon to play Sporting Lisbon. I actually haven't been keeping up with them since MRM left, but that's not an easy fight. A lot of good players there. We talked about this kind of game with Lazio last week. Sporting Lisbon's a major club in the European scene. This is how you get to the next step going and playing these games. I don't think Bologna has played in like a meaningful away game like this in a long time.
away
It was
game.
at home, yeah.
Yeah.
Dortmund was a
listen,
big
I
one too,
mean,
for sure.
Yeah, I think we kind of brushed over the fact that Bologna won their first Champions League game last week. So let's kind of give them their praise there. Like Italiano did come to Bologna because he wanted to play Champions League, and he finally did deliver a win at home as well. So high praise there. Let's see if they can parlay it into 2 wins. And like I said last week, then just have a better feel about how they performed with a couple wins. And then maybe even get in again. If we get that 5th spot, they're in prime position.
I will say the Sporting game's not an easy win.
No.
Jorgic is disgusting. And
Yeah, but isn't their coach gone? What's he's on United
gone,
now?
But Jorgic has still been scoring at will in every game that he's played. So it'll be interesting to see how Bologna deal with him, especially since Sporting not necessarily need to win. I think the only team behind them that can really drop them down is City. Bologna is effectively out, but Sporting definitely need this win. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of performance Bologna brings to the pitch. The Europa.
Good summary there, Lux. I like that one. And Europa. Roma's got a big one. They're hosting Frankfurt, who are actually 2nd in the table right now, which might kind of play in their favor. A little bit less to play. Roma are fighting for their life in 21st right now. They're tied with the bottom spot right now for going through to the knockouts. So they absolutely have to win this game if they want a chance realistically. Probably somebody else is going to get a win and pass them. So they need to get it done. Frankfurt's a scary game, albeit Marmoush, their best player, did just go to City. So maybe they get a little bit of a break there. But a lot of big games for Roma, despite this weird season.
A lot of big games. Well, they've turned it around. And we have another big one in Serie A coming up as well.
Then the other team in Rome, Lazio, are going to Braga. Lazio at this point are 3 points clear, top of the Europa League table. They got a +13 goal differential, so I don't really see, regardless of what happens, them not cleaning this up in first place. And for them, I think that's a good summary of kind of where they've been this year, kind of the best of that like other group. which is kind of like that Europa League team. So I'm happy for them. Happy they're playing these games, and I hope they go far. Unlike Motts, who's probably gonna say something.
Dude, their eagle holder posted his penis on Instagram. That's what kind of club we're talking about here.
All right. Done with European competitions. We got match week 22 happened this weekend. We got some storylines to talk through. We mentioned it a little bit earlier. But before we get anywhere, we need to talk about Inter Milan for a little bit. We've kind of gotten away from speaking about them, and it's not really their fault. They haven't done anything wrong. So you just want to take a second and give them their flowers a little bit. Lugs is doing some funny business on our plan here. But realistically, you can't say anything bad about them. They just won another game 4-0. They've been really great all season. We haven't even talked about them extensively for a month or two. They're looking great. They're looking like they're going to catch Napoli. Only good things to say about them.
This was probably the most complete game that Inter has played all season long. I think this kind of made them look, or they took a page from their last season's form with how they played. Now, granted, it was obviously Lecce, so not that strong of an opponent. But no matter who the opponent is, in this season, Inter has been kind of letting off the gas more towards the end of the season or end of the game, allowing teams back in. They obviously didn't do that this game. They, from start to finish, dominated every aspect of this game defensively, in the midfield, and attacking. I think they scored like 6 goals, but 2 were called offsides. So, I mean, this was kind of what you expected to see from Inter throughout this entire season. They haven't been this good, and yet they are right outside first place. So it's kind of scary to think where they could be. But few people that I wanted to just highlight from the game was obviously Frattesi. He scored twice. One of them got called back, but he was rumored to be on the outs or maybe leaving in January. I think something happened internally where they had a conversation with him, with Inzaghi and their sporting director, Murata. And they basically said, like, listen, we'll play you, but you got to perform. And if you perform, we'll keep you and play you a lot next year, because like he was bought to be played. And that's just me. I obviously have no idea what's going on. That, or he wants to go so bad that he's showing everybody, like, this is what you could have if you buy me and I can score consistently, because he's been balling. Lautaro obviously scored a world-class goal. That makes 3 goals in 3 games for him in a row. So he's starting to find that 2023-2024 form that got him close to the Ballon d'Or, which obviously Inter needs if they want to win the Scudetto and go on the Champions League run. And then the last player for me that I wanted to highlight is Denzel Dumfries is having a career season or career year right now. He has scored 5 goals in the last 7 games. In total this season for Inter, he scored 8 goals. And for club and country, he has 11. And we're not talking about a midfielder or a striker. We're talking about a right wing back who has 8 goals and 3 assists for a club. And we know that obviously Inter play fluid and everyone interchanges positions, but the way that he's able to attack, he's a striker on the field, and then it allows other players to drop back like Lautaro and receive the ball. It's beautiful to watch. Great performance by Inter. You hope to see this more, and those are the 3 that I wanted to highlight.
Yeah, I won't say too many nice things about Inter based on my historical takes and as well as our matchup this weekend. But what I will say, building off of what Motts just went off of, I mean, listen, Dumfries is in world-class player at this point, and for the amount of praise that Grimaldo and Frimpong got for Leverkusen last year, being how integral they were to the attack, Dumfries doesn't get any of that notice, which I think is just a travesty, because he's insanely good on both sides of the ball. I think it's not even I think he's better than both Grimaldo and Frimpong at both sides of the ball, and just doesn't get the recognition that I think he should be on the offensive side for sure.
Yeah. And not to cut you off, but Frimpong and Dumfries play on the same national team, and Dumfries plays over him every single game. And you're right, he doesn't get the praise. And I would take it a step further and say he is probably Normally, we talk about how DeMarco might be one of the best wingbacks in the world, and I still think that that's the case. I think Dumfries is the best wingback in the world, definitely top 3 right now. I don't know a wingback playing better football than him.
No, certainly. And again, we talked about this earlier in the season, how he wasn't getting too many minutes. I think they were playing Darmian on that side for a bit. You can't go without playing Dumfries, and he's an engine. He doesn't get tired, so it's not like you need to rest him. I think the way that Inter play and the way that Inter excel, they need to have Dumfries on the field.
Yeah.
And to that point, the one thing I'll say about this game is that this is where Inter take it to the next level compared to the rest of the league. They win these games that they need to win, and they don't make them close. I think it was either Cagliari or Genoa at the beginning of the season that they obviously let up with a 3-goal lead, but since then, these games they don't let up. They finish them out. They put a stamp on it. They get the momentum going, and they ride that momentum, which I'm a little bit scared about going into the weekend.
Well, that's what I was saying. That's what they did last year. They haven't done too much this year. Last year, they did it all the time.
Yeah.
This year, this was the first time that they're like, hey, we don't care that we have a 2-0 lead. We're going to go get more. But what I will say, which was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire life by a manager, and I've seen some dumb things. You are up 3-0, or I don't know if it was 3 or 4 at the time, and then you sub Barella on, and then he almost was injured for the season. He didn't. He came out and said it's not as bad. Like I'm fine. It looked like a torn ACL. It could have been way worse than what it was. And you lose Barella, your Scudetto, your Champions League shots. That's all out the window. What Barella means for his team. So what is the reasoning to put Barella on when the game's already gone? It makes no sense.
Yeah, I agree. That doesn't make sense. It's weird. But just to continue to like echo on Inter, like they're kind of in a period now where Thuram has slowed down a ton, but their goal output hasn't. And that's what's so crazy about Inter. So many guys can hurt you. In this game, it was Lautaro, Dumfries, Frattesi. Frattesi also won the penalty that Taremi then converted. Like, it's insane that many guys are like this much of a threat, and yet their defensive base is still so strong.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and also Taremi first goal of the season, which pretty late in the season to score for Taremi, but now like when he scored the goal, you saw all the players were like happy for him, and like they signed him to make later runs in the season. So maybe now he starts to catch form. And yes, Thuram might not be scoring as many goals as he was in the beginning of the season. That we probably knew that wasn't going to continue because he had like 9 in like 5 games, but he's still a problem. He creates so many opportunities. He takes on his man. He's the difference between Thuram when he was in the Bundesliga to now in the Serie A and Inter. In the Bundesliga, he was like a 5-goal, 6-goal guy season. Now he's a 15-goal, 15-assist guy. They're gonna have trouble holding on to him if he keeps this form up. He can go for like 110 million if he continues the way he's playing.
Agreed. But just to wrap up on Inter, we don't need to talk about them, but I just wanted to mention Peter Zielinski played as kind of like the lowest lying midfielder and played really well this game. That was probably the first time I noticed he was playing noticeably well in that spot. And that's been a puzzle piece for Inzaghi all year, trying to figure out when Hakan Çalhanoğlu's not playing, who can kind of play his spot. Still think Zielinski's the guy. I don't really think anybody else can do that. And then the other guy I wanted to shout out, Carlos Augusto at left wing back. Filled in for Federico DeMarco, had a good game, just a really solid player who we know DeMarco's fitness isn't his strong suit. So having Augusto with the ability to kind of plug and play and not obviously lose in the final third, what DeMarco does, but not lose a ton of quality there was huge for this team.
Yeah, and that just goes back to their sporting director, who's very, very good at just acquiring guys that in positions that are needed for depth. And then also great on Inzaghi to kind of promote that team competitiveness and team spirit. So like Carlos Augusto doesn't get mad that he's not always playing every game. And Frattesi is getting mad, but then you work it out. That goes to kind of the culture that Inter has built over these last 4 years, and the team spirit, which obviously you need, and the inter-team competitiveness, which you need in order to push guys to their absolute best ability, so you can make these deep runs that Inter want to do.
Agreed. We're keeping it rolling. The Motts Derby happened this weekend. Juve went to Naples to take on Napoli. Juve handed their first loss of the season. Unfortunate that they're not going to go undefeated, but what were your thoughts here, Motts?
This was a tale of two halves, this game. You had a fantastic first half by Juventus and Thiago Motta. Napoli couldn't do anything in the first half. I don't think that they got a shot on target. It was all Juventus. They had multiple chances. They probably should have finished the first half up 2-0. Yildiz should have put that goal away. But just absolute outclass Antonio Conte in the first half. And then the second half happened, and Juventus, I don't even know if they were on the pitch. This really, really showed how Antonio Conte has been there, done that, and Thiago Motta has not. And he has a long, long, long way to go because Juventus didn't even have a shot not only on target, off target. They did not have one shot in the second half. Not one shot. Before it was 1-1, and Juventus had 19% possession in the second half. And then Lukaku got the penalty, and then they kind of stepped it up, and they finished the second half with 30% possession. But to have 19% possession in almost the entire second half is terrible. Thiago Motta cannot make in-game adjustments. He has a plan. They stick to that plan. And if a manager makes an adjustment, that plan is not being changed, and then they're going to either lose or tie. There was nobody on the pitch that had any fight. We're too inexperienced and too young, and that I put not on Motta, I put on Giuntoli because he'll just sell and buy whoever he wants, right? You need to have players that know how to win or can command on the pitch and be like, guys, it's 1-1. We need to go win this game. Juventus don't have that, right? Who besides Danilo, who was getting kicked out by Giuntoli, right? Like, who is the leader on the field? There is none. Thiago Motta isn't screaming and demanding anything from his players on the sideline. Not that you have to do that as a coach, but look at the difference between Conte and Motta. Conte is a fireball on the sideline, screaming at his guys, and his guys, they stepped up in the second half. I mean, Logue's boy Simeone got subbed on. He dove for a ball that was being kicked by Gatti with his head to prevent Juventus from winning the ball. And Juventus, there was none of that. There was no Grinka. There was no Fina Alafina. A lot of questions are being asked about Motta because does he understand the Juventus DNA where winning is everything? So just a terrible, terrible second half by both the coach, the players, and then I think there's a bigger aspect in terms of who Giuntoli is selling and buying. I said that they have a B- last week. I want to change my grade to an F after this game. I know I'm going on a rant here. I'm just going to say one other thing, and then I'll pass it to you guys. It's getting to the point now where Coop Miners, Motta, at the beginning of the season, he said, whoever the best player will play in terms of who's playing the best in training and who's playing the best during the games. Coop Miners has had one game over a 7.0 in a match rating, and he plays every single game. You need to sub him out. You need to play somebody different and see if something else comes. Because Coop Miners runs around like a chicken with his head cut off. We paid $60 million for him, $50 million for Douglas Luiz, who averages 8 minutes a game. We don't see him from the start, and he doesn't change it up. Nico Gonzalez, we paid $30 million for him. He has done nothing. He's barely been available. So that's $130 million from Giuntoli by three players who have done nothing. It's terrible. Any way you look at it, it's just awful by Juventus.
I mean, Maz, I think you covered the game as a whole there. The one thing I will say about Juventus here is they do such a beautiful job of breaking the press, especially in the first half. You know, Napoli, the way Napoli played was actually rather intriguing, and I apologize to the rest of you guys if this is how they usually play, and I'm sure they do, but it was almost like they were herding sheep. It was their press is not full on 100% of the time, but the way that they are able to shift the ball where they want it to go when they're out of possession was impeccable. But what I will say is that Juve did a great job to break that press in their own half, and they had beautiful triangles, passing, one touch, movement, awesome. And then they get the ball, they break the lines, they get the ball going towards the goal in Napoli's half, and they just lose every bit of tactical prowess. They don't know where to go with the ball. It's like they break the lines. They've got a 4-on-3. They don't know where the pass is supposed to go. It completely breaks down. They lose their momentum, and again, they get no shot in the second half. So they really do need to figure it out on the front lines. Obviously, been a lot of in and out in terms of who's playing where and what's everyone's responsibility in the final third. But that's something that I think will come to fruition as we move forward. A couple of player spotlights, at least from my side. We'll start with the bad. Cambiaso had a horrible game. He needed to get subbed out, got subbed out, I think a little late, but horrible, horrible, horrible. Was probably one of the worst performances I've seen out of him, and especially given the fact of the backdrop
2 in a row now.
Being a $60 million player, potentially going to Man City. That's
might be on purpose. Might be on purpose. So Juve don't sell him.
Could be on purpose. I doubt
At this
it.
point, sell the
he's
guy.
got too much heart, but no, he played horribly.
He gave up a goal. He gave up a goal. He gave up the ball to Politano and easy cross. That's Cambiaso's 4th or 3 or 4, maybe 5. It's in between 3 to 5 times this season where we are winning the game and he gives the ball up and they score.
Yeah, no, it was bad at him. Another defender that I thought
on Cambiaso really quickly.
Go ahead.
I would say that part of the issue is that left back is not his natural position, and he's just been forced back there.
I disagree.
He's a full throttle attacking player in my head.
I don't want him. Him going up is the reason why Coop Miners cannot figure out where to go. Because what they do is they drag Coop Miners to the touchline to allow Cambiaso to invert. And Cambiaso doesn't. He's a crosser. He needs to cross the ball in. Like, he needs to be playing like a wing back, not a center mid. It doesn't work.
No,
he's not that good defensively.
What I'm saying is his starting position. Like, if I could play Cambiaso in any position, I would play him at like a left wing or a right wing. I think that is actually his best position. And when you put him at defense, that's not what he wants to do, I don't think, regardless of his mental state and like ability to like get himself amped up. Oh, I'm going to play good defense. That's just not like what his best thing is, which is what's disappointing.
I mean, I definitely think he lacks defensively, but like, he's never been played as a left or a right wing. So I don't think that we can say that's his best spot. But I just think that you need to keep him on the touch line rather than having him invert into the midfield. Keep going on your spotlights, Lokes.
No, I mean, in this next one, I think we all share this opinion, but he only played, 10, 15 minutes, but Dusan is horrendous. He is horrific. When he came on for Kolo Muani, who I'll talk about in just a second. I mean, completely he looked like a rec player.
He's awful. I mean, he's terrible.
His touch was terrible when he came back to provide an option for an outlet. He couldn't get forward. Ball at his feet looked like he had never touched a soccer ball in his entire life. Had no finishing ability. Was not a threat. Might as well have had 10 players out there. He looks like a broken player.
Before Motts goes on a rant here, what I will say about Dusan Vlahovic, and I have dogged him for the last 2 years, Juve don't play in a way that allows him to succeed, right? Like, they don't really put service into the box. This is what's going to happen. They're going to move on from Dusan Vlahovic, like they moved on from Moise Kean, and he's going to go somewhere else and probably be successful. Like, he's a guy that you need to just get, like, if he goes to Atalanta, I bet he's bagging goals left and right. It's they don't play into his strengths, and because of that, he looks abysmal. Like, he's not good at passing. He's not good at linking up play whatsoever. Doesn't really understand the movement of creating space for other people. He's a guy that wants to stand in the box and score goals. And that makes sense on some teams. On Juve, it doesn't.
There is a point to that is true, right? I agree. Juve don't play to his strengths. And if he goes to another place, he probably will score goals, like maybe an Arsenal or at some place that will play more to his strengths. But when we do play to his strengths, he still doesn't get the job done. He does get service in the box. He makes stupid runs when we're putting balls in. He's never in the right spot. When he does get the ball, he loses it under his feet, or his first touch is so bad, it's gone. Or if he does miraculously have a good first touch, he will not score the goal. He will not finish it. He doesn't have the killer. He used to on Fiorentina, which is why I do agree with you. Where if he goes to Arsenal or some other place, he could bag him. But this experiment has to be done. I also think he's the reason why a lot of wingers on Juventus haven't been playing well, specifically Nico Gonzalez, because there is no, like, he can only do one thing. Whereas, and Logs is going to talk about Kolo in a little bit. When you put in Kolo, it's a lot. It looks a lot different when it's Dusan, because I'm trying to think of like the most immobile object in the world, and me and my cousin Blake used to call Lukaku a fridge. I'd say Lukaku is like, he's very good with his back to basket, but he's very immobile. I don't want to use the fridge because Lukaku's better than Dusan, so I'm trying to think of something even like he's
Like
like
a
a
tree
filing
stump.
cabinet or something. Like he cannot move.
Yeah, it was a really bad look at Vlahovic, but Vos, I do agree. He's a very particular player that I think would fit in a different system. This one's certainly not the Malta
But
system that's used to having Xerxes.
one last thing of Dusan, yes, definitely can't be the Dusan. But you put him in the Serbian team, and he looks just as fucking bad.
Yeah, but that's a Serbian thing. On the Serbian national team, they all look bad. So I'm not going to say that one. But let's talk about. I know you're going to highlight him right now, Lugs. Big debut for him.
Yeah, Kolo Muani, awesome. He was so fun to watch. I think he knows he has a ton to prove. He was a huge signing for PSG, coming off of some really good performances, not only for Frankfurt, but also for the French national team. Definitely has something to prove, and you could see it on the field. Added a whole different dimension to that front line. And I think the biggest dimension that he added there, and Motts pointed this out for the most part, was he's a much better player to be able to interchange with the front three that plays right behind him, most notably Nico. He's able to he can come out wide, create space, let Nico come in and play like a false nine. He can be an out and out nine through the through ball. He's got a nose for goal, clearly with his goal here in the 43rd minute. I mean, just knowing where you are on the pitch, eye on the ball, good finish, confident finish, and you saw the passion after he scored. You know, he wants it. He wants to be here. He wants to succeed in this loan stint. I think this is going to work out really, really well for him, and I think that they'll either bring him back to PSG or not, depending on how Gonzalo Ramos is. But you could just tell. I mean, they bought Kolo Muani and Gonzalo Ramos at the same damn time, basically the same price tag, hefty price tags, a lot of expectations out of them, and just didn't show out for PSG. I think that this is going to work out really well for the rest of the season.
I think Kolo's going to be fine. What I am a little bit nervous about with this whole thing, and Motts, I'm really curious what you think about this. The more I've been watching this season, I don't know what striker archetype Coop Miners is going to complement playing as an attacking midfielder without two strikers, right? Like at Atalanta, he was really successful because the two strikers would kind of hold that vertical, I don't know not width, but like that vertical seam, which allowed him to kind of play in those other spaces. In a system like this, he doesn't have two guys to do that. And Kolo Muani, like, I don't know how he's going to complement any of these strikers. You know what I mean? I could see this being the same issue. Kolo Muani isn't like a true false nine per se, but he's more comfortable kind of going to those spaces that Coop Miners still wants to occupy. And that's what I'm worried about. Regardless of if Kolo Muani's playing well, and I think he did play well, I just don't see where you're going to get the most. I don't see where you're going to get the most out of Coop Miners. That
I don't know if Coop Miners is good at this point, so I can't answer that question. I know he's good. He's obviously good, but we don't use him in the correct way. We're trying to use him too close to goal. When he was in Atalanta, he was used as like an 8 next to Ederson, and Ederson had all the ground to cover, and Coop Miners could just put in balls or take deep shots on goal or push up and be like the fourth guy. We're basically using him as a fucking striker sometimes, and then we use him as like a right back and a left back. We have a lot to figure out there, or at least Mata has a lot to figure out. But I think Kolo will be good for Mata. I like the passion that he had. And at this point, any option is better than Dusan. How it will work out with Coop, I have no idea. A couple more things, and let's flip it to Napoli. I just wanted to quickly touch on Locatelli. Confirmed he is not a starting player caliber for Juventus. He starts every single game, and it's the same thing every single time. He's now let up three terrible PKs to allow us to lose games. He needs to be, at best, he is a fourth or fifth option for a team like Juventus. Why is he still playing every single game? Please start Douglas Luiz or Fagioli, but Fagioli might get sold, so that would be terrible. Last thing on Juventus is 2 wins in their last 10 games is fucking terrible, and they got a cakewalk, or it should be a cakewalk in the next 3 games. It's Empoli, Como, and I cannot remember the third game, but it is not a good team.
Don't sleep on Como.
Como's good, but we beat them 3-0 when we were the first game or the second game of the season. So we should, well, they got better, but we got worse. But we should still beat them. If you do not get all 9 points out of those 3 games, I think now it's time to say, what do we move on from Thiago Motta? Because he has clearly shown that he can't do 3 games a week. He kind of got thrown into the fire, not managing 3 games a week prior, and now he's doing 5 with the Supercopa, the Coppa Italia, the Champions League, the league, and everything. So he got thrown into the fire, but he has shown he cannot manage 3 games a week, and it's struggling, and he can't implement 2 game plans into a week. But that's all about Juve. They got a lot to figure out. Moving on to Napoli, totally different story there. I mean, those guys, talk about a guy who united a team, and they fight for their manager. I'm pretty sure somebody said, or no, Conte said, I would die for all of these players. And it looks like on the pitch that they would die for Conte as well. You had, once again, I said it before, Simeone played 4 fucking minutes, and he literally almost got kicked in the face to die for a ball. And also on Napoli, really quick, I skipped over this part. 7 straight wins in a row. 7 wins in a row since they lost to Lazio. Something to be said there. They also have as many points as they finished with last season that they have now. And Conte lost their 2 best players. Talk about an amazing job that Antonio Conte is doing with this club, Napoli.
What I find interesting is that we talked about it a bunch, and they didn't really do anything different really in this game than they've been doing the last couple of weeks. But it still goes back to when Antonio Conte made the decision to go back 4 versus back 3. That was such a decision, and turned this team into such balanced team. They're not scoring the most goals in the league. They're not conceding the least amount of goals, but they're somewhere right in the middle where they're scoring 2-3 goals a game, conceding 1, and just getting it done.
That's it. They just know how to get it done, and they know, listen, if it's 1-1, our effort is going to outmatch this other team's effort. We are going to die on this pitch, and there's something to be said. If a group of players has passion, desire, the want to win, that goes a long way. Sometimes that beats talent. Those guys, all of them aren't the most talented, right? They lost their 2 best players, but you still see how all of them want it so badly, and that's fully Conte saying that. They're taking on the personality of their manager with how badly they want to win every single game.
Yeah, and Logs, we're going to kick this over to you to spotlight a couple players, but before we get into that part of the field, I texted you guys about it today. I think he deserves a shout because Buongiorno has been out now for a long time, and there hasn't been a lapse in how good the defense has been, and it's Rachmani. He's played every minute of the Serie A campaign so far, and definitely should be in the conversation for Defender of the Year. And then number 2, behind him, Alex Moret is having a great season, and that was somebody you had spotlighted as maybe being a weak point for Napoli. So we don't really need to talk about them in depth, but just wanted to mention that because I think it's worth mentioning it.
Yeah, Rachmani definitely in the conversation there, having a hell of a season, and I think it shows the type of product that they can pull out of the back line. My player spotlights fit right into what you said, Vos, about having such a balanced team, and I think that balance is most shown in the midfield. They have a perfect 6 and 8 combination there that has not faltered at all since Scott McTominay has showed up. I'll start with his partner there, Zambo. Zambo was a problem.
Fuck me.
Everywhere.
A problem.
5 goals.
Everywhere.
He has 5 goals.
I thought I thought it was 6.
Is it 6
He's
now?
got 5. He's got 5 or 6, but 5 or 6 from a player that you will not find out of position when they're not on the ball. He's certainly covering. You'll see him on the back line next to Rachmani sometimes. And the fact that he is able to cover so much of the pitch the entire game is incredible. He was in the box. He was dangerous. He should have had maybe 2.
Yeah,
He should have had a second goal on another header.
both headers.
But, I mean, making Ganti look like an absolute idiot back there. Put in a beautiful header for the first goal, 57th minute. A beautiful performance of Zambo. Physical. He's got that grinta. He's got that bite, and he's been a perfect complement for Lubaka over the years, and even more so now with his new running mate McTominay. But
with Zambo, like we said, like this was a great game. This is what he's been doing every week for like 3 years, and for some reason is still kind of under the radar.
It's because
he's literally becoming like one of the best box-to-box midfielders in the world, full stop. This is how good he was on Fulham, which was like a bad Fulham team in the Premier League. And they let him go on, and he was showing out there. And he's one of the best midfielders in this league, period.
Yeah, easily.
He's so good and so consistent on both sides of the ball. He can be in anywhere on the field. He's effective, like whether he's out on the wing, running into the box late, making tackles. He's so fucking good.
Yeah, he's really good. But I'm pretty sure he's a free agent in the summer. That's a big one for Napoli and De Laurentiis to lock up, because he does so many jobs for them. And listen, Napoli are going to be on 3 games a week next year. And Conte doesn't always do so great with that, but you need a player like Zambo who never gets tired, will play every single game, will play all 90 minutes, and will do so much on the pitch. You need him this year, and then you need him in years to come.
Yeah, quick note on the 1 game a week thing. And it's very much showing, Motts, you were right from the start, but Napoli didn't make a sub until like the 85th minute.
Mm-hmm.
The 85th minute, they played the same 11.
Yeah, but
they did not look tired at all. They were dominant the entire time. And the fact that they didn't need to bring on a single sub, I think just goes to show where this team is heading.
And the guys they brought on, they did not lack any fire, any passion, any intensity. Billy Gilmore started a fight with Weston McKennie when 5 minutes into the game, and Diego Simeone, for the third time of me mentioning it, wanted to kill himself. And then Thiago Motta has the balls to go up there and say, "Oh yeah, they were way more fit than us because they play 1 game a week." No, they just have passion, and they're taking after their manager.
Right. And somebody who fits that bill perfectly that they brought in has been an absolute monster the entire season, but I think it really showed here. Scott McTominay is phenomenal. Vosa's boy since the beginning. This guy's a menace. I mean, first and foremost, when you look at him on the field, he is a brute. He's gigantic. So he takes up space even when he's not trying to. But I think the biggest thing that I've seen out of him since he's been on Napoli has been his aggression to get forward and draw defenders to him. And if they don't draw defenders to him, then he's open for a through ball. And it was a perfect example when he drew the penalty on Locatelli. He stretched the lines. He was up there with Lukaku. He opened himself up for a great pass. Nice little touch. Locatelli, idiot, takes him out in the box. But just having that presence and being able to be an outlet up so far up the field and have that aggression from a midfielder, especially when they do counter so much, I think has been a great addition. And it's a perfect complement to you have Lubaka holding and being able to be a facilitator from the 6th position. You have Zambo, who's covering the entire field box to box, still scoring goals, playing great defense. And then you have Scott being able to press the ball, move the ball up the pitch. Even when he doesn't have the ball, he's an option up front and drawing these penalties, being in scoring opportunities. It's a beautiful setup in the midfield, and this Napoli team looks ready for a Scudetto run for sure.
Listen, I've been taught. I'm not going to toot my horn too much. This has always been what Scott McTominay is. Antonio Conte just saw it and pulled him out and said, "You can do this on my team." And humongous shouts to Antonio Conte for identifying him as like, this is the 3rd midfielder that we need. He probably was on nobody's list if you went around world football as like, this is the guy that Napoli went to kind of push on and win the Scudetto. What he's added so it's Politano, in David Neres now. But then Aguissa, McTominay, Lukaku in the box, all guys over 6'2", all are in the box every time the ball is on the wing. Politano has started to play as more of a wide winger, crossing it a lot more, and it's made a huge difference in his game. He looks way better now, and they're going to need that. But defending those three guys, especially with Aguissa and McTominay's late runners, is so difficult. And then on the other side of the field, both of them are just ball hawks. They want to press you. They want to win the ball back. They want to hit you. And it's such a Conte team now. It's such a Conte team. It's amazing.
I mean, that's what Conte does. He knows the players that will fit his system, and he relentlessly goes after them and makes the sporting director get them. Which, last thing about Napoli, and then we'll move on to the next game. They beat Atalanta and they beat Juventus 6 points in a row. And seven in a row, but those two were with Kavica Kvaratskhelia leaving. And so now Conte can march into De Laurentiis' room and say, I just beat Atalanta and Juventus without Kvara. Buy me X, Y, and Z, and I will win the Scudetto right now.
No.
De
Laurentiis is looking at this like, oh, you don't need another player to win. 100%.
You're going to need somebody there. You got to replace Kvara with the offense that he provided. And with what Conte just did, I think he has all the ground to stand on to tell De Laurentiis, get me who I want.
Moving away from the Motts derby. That was a great discussion. I really like that one. Going to Milan, the Rossoneri hosting Parma, got it done 3-2. A team that they lost to earlier in the season in Parma. Always been a tough game the whole year. Storylines from this one, Milan got it done, should have gotten it done, but more so storylines after the game.
Barely got it done.
Although I will say, I mean, scoreline and timing of the goals may show something, but this Parma team didn't play that well. Their 2 goals were rather soft. They had one great finish. Teo slipped up on the break and never really recovered, and it was a great finish. I mean,
terrible defending.
Mignon had no chance. Pavlich had a great game. One knockout we'll give him. Growing up playing, your coach will always get pissed when you're stepping up to a player and you turn your back and you don't know where the ball is going. If he had just stayed there and held his ground and just watched where the ball was going, he had a way better chance at blocking that shot. Turned around, had no idea what was going on. Tough showing on that goal. The other goal was a fluke. But from a Milan side, we just don't know how to get it done early. We clearly have the aggression. We've shown it now 3 times under Coach and Sal that when we're down, we want to get back in it. We want to win the game. We have the passion, but we need that from the start. It didn't happen. We got one penalty in the first half. Great penalty by Pulisic, may I add. It was phenomenal. But just again, time and time again, not clinical in the final third. Morata is not it. Is horrendous. His offsides goal. This is a seasoned vet, and we'll talk about it. He's a been there, done that kind of guy. And for him to be so far offsides, looking at the entire back line and being offsides like that was just a horrendous thing to see out of our starting 9. But again, our midfield is where our strong suit is. Fofana, Musa, Reinders, Pulisic getting it done. Musa with a great ball into Reinders for hit the second goal there. Horrible defense by Parma, but if you give Reinders that much space, he's going to be clinical, a great finish. And then back to Pavlovic. Should have had a goal. I don't know how offsides he was on the first one that got called off, but I'll give the third goal to Pavlovic anyways. Chukwueze kind of just got in the way, and Suzuki just couldn't handle it. It was a weird goal, but 3-2 here. Not tremendously happy about the result, but I'll take it. I still like the fact that we had the fight in the second half. I like the fact that we had the fight when we're down. We should never be down to Parma, especially at home. That's going to hurt us going forward. And then one more point on the game itself. Weird subs. Taking Leao and Teo
I don't
off
think so.
at the half is a bit strange, given the fact that Leao had been such a pivotal player in another game where he came on the 76th minute. I think you got to give him a little more time than just a half. certainly switched it up. I mean, Bardasagi, I thought, played really well, especially coming off the bench and haven't played in a while. So it's a weird one. I'm not happy nor upset about it. It's not the greatest game that we've ever played. It's a step up from what we had seen previously. So I'll take it in that sense. Weird happening at the end of the game, however,
This is the
where-
highlight. This is what we got to talk about here.
where Sao lit up Calabria. Absolutely lit him up. I mean, the final whistle blew. Calabria's already walking into the locker room, minding his own business, and Sao beelines it to Calabria, gets in his face. They have to get separated. Not sure
Tamori
what the
pulls him off.
Yeah,
Teo
everyone's
came.
pulling him off. Teo, though, was in Sao's ear like, hey, like, I like that. I like that. Teo's not, like, with Sao. I'm not sure Teo likes Calabria. I don't like Calabria. I don't blame him. But I tried to see what was going on. They've kept it tight-lipped from an AC Milan perspective. I saw Calabria's post-game interview where he was all smiles. He was just like, that's passion. Adrenaline was high right after the game. We'll get past it. That's just two fiery guys going at it. I think there was something deeper there. That wasn't just like some fiery thing, because they weren't even next to each other. Sao seeked him out. It'll be interesting to see what that comes to in the coming games. But again, the positive I'll take from that, Sao is a fiery guy, and I'm loving it. I'm loving the passion out of him. I love that he stepped into this, I don't know where we're going team, and trying to put him in the right direction, trying to right the ship, and putting his own name on the line. I really respect it, especially going after the captain who's played like dog shit. So good things to come. Really, really tough game coming up this weekend that we really need to figure out a couple of things. I'm not sure that we get there in time, but we're on the right path. We need to really figure it out in the final third. That's our biggest thing, from my opinion.
So I have a take on what Sao did this game. Okay. And it goes back to what I said last episode on how you guys are kind of leaderless and the best players have terrible attitude, right? Like Leao and Teo, everybody knows, think that they're almost their shit doesn't stink, right? And Sao sees that, right? And he, similar to what Fonseca tried to do with the benching of these players to kind of put them in their place, he took him out in the 45th because Teo did some of the worst defending I've ever seen in my entire life. He let a man who's left-footed just go on his left foot and curl it in. And then Leao was playing with some of the worst soccer I've ever seen him play, which is shocking because, like you said, what he did coming off of that game and in that pivotal moment, right? Leao had to come off the field. I was looking at some of the stats that he did. He had ground duels 0 for 8, gave possession away 3 times, tried to dribble by 10 people, dribbled by 0 people. So Sao saw that and was like, this guy's got to get off the field, right? And I'm sending a message to my team now. I don't care who you are. If you play bad, you will come out. And then what he did was they won the game, right? So it was like, I don't care who you are. If you're bad, if you're playing bad, or you're hurting the team, or you're not caring, you're coming out the game. I'm putting somebody else in. Then he was able to take the win. And Logs, you said it when you were talking. You hate Calabria. Vos, not a big Calabria fan. I don't think a lot of Milan fans are big Calabria fans. That is your leader, technically, because he has the captain armband. He has the captain armband. He's got the armband. I know Milan fans don't like it, but Teo, Leao, and Calabria are the leaders right now with the captain, who's getting the captain armband.
Mignon had it this game.
Well, but Mignon had it. This is what I'm getting to. Sao saw that and said, all right, I got Leao, I got Teo. I'm going to go get Calabria and show these guys I am the leader. Mignon is now going to be the captain. These guys are going to follow me because we won that game in the 90th minute. And you guys are going to buy in the system or you're going to get the fuck out. Because that's the type of personality Sao has. The last 3 games, he's had Milan huddled up, screaming at them. He's giving this team an attitude adjustment. He's going about it in an absolutely absurd manner, which I kind of love. That's who he is. He's fiery, like you said. And I think now that they have Kyle Walker, he's basically just saying, Calabria, you are done. We are not, you are gone. We're going to go to Kyle Walker. Magnan's our captain. Teo and Leao. if you guys continue this, I do not give a fuck. You guys will be benched, and we will play with players that want to die for the shirt rather than think that they're better than the club. I love it.
I don't think you're wrong. Issue is this team does not have the personnel to deal with that. Because you're not going to take Leao. At the end of the day, like, Leao is going to play in your big games, and he is not ever going to be that guy that he wants. Teo Hernandez, same thing.
He's
Alvaro
that
Morata,
no, but
same
Teo
thing.
is for France though. Teo does not act the same way he does on AC Milan than he does for France because he knows he's not the best player on that team. Like, he defends, he hustles back, he gives for the France shirt. He does not do the same for the AC Milan.
He has a different role on France where he has less defensive duty. That's what I will say, which is important. And even on France, he's smarter. Granted, like, has less defensive duty, but he still doesn't really play hard, right? You know what I mean? And the difference being the players that excelled under Conceição, the most notable one is Luis Diaz, I would say. And that type of player, Milan does not have. Willing to give it all offensively, to give it all defensively, at least in their best 11. So if they want, I don't think Pulisic has that either.
He does.
If this is the change they want long term, it's not going to happen this season, and they are going to have to change the team because this is not the team to go and
well,
do
they
that
can't
with.
change the team this season, and I think this is how he thinks this is the best way to go about giving this team an attitude adjustment that they need. Because we've said it time and time again, they need an attitude adjustment, and I think that's what he tried to do there. Also, there is rumors. Just want to quickly touch on this. I was scrolling on Twitter. I saw Matteo tweeted it. There's rumors that the reason why he did all of this is that because Calabria, Teo, and Leao and Loftus-Cheek went to some concert and got back at 2:30 in the morning, so he didn't play Loftus-Cheek. He wanted to punch Calabria, and then he benched the other two. There's also rumors of that. So it could have been that could be the reason why, and I'm just making some theory up, but I think that's what he's doing because he's every chance he gets, he's screaming at these guys.
I just have my doubts because Fonseca tried this.
Yeah, but he's not the alpha personality.
But he couldn't back it up.
Yeah,
Conceição can back it up. So I think that there's an opportunity to have this be successful. We'll see.
It's just it's a little bit like Roma where they're starting to like spiral because last year and all the success was with Pioli, which is immaculate vibes. Nobody can do anything wrong. I love everybody. We all love each other. Then they went to Fonseca, who's more like, I am the boss. I'm not a hard ass, but I'm more tactical. And now they've kind of gone as far away as you can from Pioli and hard ass, not quite Jose Mourinho. I would say Jose Mourinho. That's the part in the CQ. But that's kind of
he's almost there.
Going. Yeah, he's almost there. But it's scary because this is the first full year with Zlatan on the board. And it's just been so different at every level. That is concerning still.
I still just feel like we're in limbo and I don't know which way this is going. I'm hopeful, maybe ignorant, but I think we might have the right pieces going forward. Again, a huge matchup this weekend, which I think will be telling.
I liked it. I mean, maybe not doing it.
I also liked it. I'm not going to say I didn't like it. I just don't know if it's going to work with the personnel.
Yeah. I would say the one thing I maybe don't do it where the cameras can see and you do it in the locker room to kind of not make this such a like pressing matter where it's coverage and it's talked about by everybody. But I like the move. I like benching them. I like going after Calabria because Logs, you hate him. I'm sure a lot of Milan fans hate him. So it's like, hey guys, I hear you and I agree. And this guy is gone. And now let's go.
Don't get me wrong. Anybody who trashes Calabria in the public eye is a friend of mine. So me and Conceição are on great terms right now.
All right, there were some other games, so we got to keep it rolling. Cagliari went to Torino, dropped 3 points. Torino got a much-needed win, 2-0. A little bit of surprise for me. I thought Cagliari would actually tie this one. At the Lake, we had the me and Lugs derby. I guess we're calling it that now. Atalanta beat Como 2-1. I will say, phenomenal performance from Como. I don't think you can take anything away from them. This
Nickel
is
Paz, baby.
this
They
was
sh-
one of the best games that they've played all season, and a lot of not highlights, but there was a lot of talk after the match at Fabregas kind of echoing that with the team on the field. Just a great performance, honestly.
They should have
They
had more
deserved a
than
point.
one at the end of the first half. It should have been at least 2-0 at the end of the first half.
They deserved a point.
Yeah. But they subbed Vertegi they subbed
Dog.
on Brescianini, who had 2 assists, and Retegui, man, they Atalanta, when Retegui plays and when he doesn't play, almost two different teams. Now they are going to get Scamacca back soon. So will that push? What will that look like? Right, you have to go with Retegui because he's the hottest man alive. He scores anything he touches. But Scamacca's obviously had a great season last year, so that inter-team competition again is going to be good for both of them. But Retegui is on fire right now.
Vincenzo Italiano's Bologna went to Empoli. Empoli back to their old ways, squeaking out a 1-1 draw against the hot Bologna. Look, you had a couple notes here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's upsetting from a Bologna standpoint. Empoli hasn't been in the same form that we had seen this beginning of the season. In any case, Bologna, and I guess Milan too, since they're tied, but we'll say Bologna since we're on goal differential, building a bit of a moat. We've talked about the tiers of teams here. The top 3 is obviously pretty decided, but there's now a bit of a moat here between the next couple of teams. You have Lazio, Fiorentina, Juve, AC, Bologna. Roma's kind of falling behind. If they don't get more results, they're going to see themselves far, far, far and away from any European spot, even with 5 teams. So really important for Bologna to continue to get results.
Well, to Roma's point, I mean, yeah, they're far away, and like obviously can't be thinking about European spots yet because of how bad their start is. But I was looking at the table; they're only 7 points off of Juve. That's not that many. I mean, Juve they're gonna tie a bunch of games like they always do. So Roma have slowly started to figure out, and yes, they're far away from Europa League, but they could sneak a Conference League or something in there with this. If they can continue to their winning ways.
If they go on a run, and actually, let's just move on to Rome. That's a perfect segue because we can talk about them a little bit. This game was in Rome, I believe. They hosted Udinese. They won 2-1. And just to echo on the back of what we're talking about with the table, if they win like 2 to 3 in a row, they could very much just be in a European competition. And I don't know how this has happened. I think it's more a testament to how much like the Juves and the Milans have underperformed.
Mm-hmm.
Like Roma, we're talking about as like couldn't have been worse. And somehow they're just outside of the mix here to get into Europe.
Yeah.
And
They do have a tough schedule coming up with Napoli and Milan for the next 2 games, plus Frankfurt in the middle of the week. But I mean, hey, if I don't want them to, or I hope this doesn't happen, but if they end up getting knocked out of Europa and they go to 1 game a week, you never know what can happen if they're back to 1 game a week.
This is kind of a perfect segue to what I wanted to highlight from this game is they kind of got bailed out by a penalty kick. I didn't think there was a handball in this game, and it probably should have been 1-1. But the big takeaway for me was when Dybala doesn't play, they are significantly worse. Like they almost don't know where to go. Dybala just pulls the strings, does so much for them, works so hard. And the 1 game a week thing would probably play into that much better. The other thing that happened in this game, I'm going to butcher this guy's name. New signing, I think it's Divine Wrench. There's no, that's his actual name.
I'll take that. I was going to say.
Divine Wrench. He played a bunch of games at Ajax and started a lot of games over the last like 3 or 4 years. So I think he's going to be a solid player. Didn't look much better than Shelik to me, but at least gives you something else that you can use as a right center back or a right back. So just of note, nothing crazy. The other thing is Zaluski played in this game. He actually was decent off the bench, which was nice to see because he's had a really bad season. But things are kind of looking up for Roma. I mean, we keep seeing Dovbyk score. Like he's
Yeah.
It's just hard to say. It's hard to say when they're going to get going.
I got 2 stats on this game, which I think shows like if they're trending in the right direction, they're starting to figure it out. And if they can continue, you never know what can happen in terms of where they finish. Roma 6 straight unbeaten in the league. That's good. Whether not all wins, but they haven't lost in 6 straight games. And in 8 games, Dovbyk has 6 goals and 2 assists. If he can continue to score or get assists, and Roma can continue to no longer lose games like they've been doing, they're going to be in the mix because of, like you said, Vos, how poorly Juventus and Milan have done over the last 10 games, and Fiorentina's had their skid. Lazio are losing some games, so they're right outside of the mix and can very well see themselves. Like if they can get a point out of Napoli and a win from Milan, or a win at Napoli and a point out of Milan, they're in the mix.
Yeah, just to wrap up, Pellegrini played well, which was nice to see. That hasn't happened in a long time. Part of the issue was still when like Dybala's not playing, you can kind of work Pellegrini in. When Dybala is playing, not so much, and they just look so different still, game in and game out, because they kind of took out Pellegrini, or took out like El Shaarawy or Salamaker, whichever it may be, to get Pellegrini kind of into that attacking role, and they just looked a little bit different. I still think they look blunt, so just something to keep watching with Rome, what this Ranieri project is going to be. I'll flip it over to Udinese perspective. A positive that they can continue to take away from the season is Lorenzo Luca scoring a lot of goals. He scored another one in this game.
Beast.
I personally don't know how good he is. I don't really see a next level player in there. He's been playing good. Luca Toni was saying that he's Spalletti's perfect striker for the Azzurri. I'm not really sure he is that guy when Retegui is a pretty damn complete striker. And so is Scamacca when he's healthy. But it is good for him. Good to see a young Italian playing well.
He's going to be tough for them to keep if he keeps up this form. Whether you think he can make it to the next level or not, if he continues to score, some team's going to get him. I've already seen links. I've already seen links with him to Juve, but Juve are linked with every single player in the league because Giuntoli just wants to buy. I just think he'll be tough to keep.
He could be interesting for Fiorentina. I would even say for AC Milan. I mean, any team that's I think he would be really good not next to, but coming on for a Moise Kean. Again, high energy, big body, target man, nose for goal. What else do you want out of your 9?
Perfect segue into the other massive game of the weekend. Fiorentina at Lazio. Battle of two teams that have been probably had a really overachieving what we had expected from them. Lazio coming off of a win midweek in the Europa League, hosting Real Sociedad, played them off the park. Lazio lost 2-1. This game had massive implications for the table. There are now 5 points between 4th and 8th. Lazio still in 4th as things stand. This was an amazing game from my perspective. This was one of the most entertaining games I've watched the entire year across all competitions. Super attack-minded, kind of what we've seen from both these teams all year. Yacine Adli scored again, continuing to make Milan look like absolute idiots for moving on from him. Great performance from Gudmundsson, who's slowly working his way back into the team as a full starter. And then Beltran is a guy that came on when Gudmundsson wasn't playing and was injured and had his court issues, which I actually never know what actually happened there. But he's taken advantage of his time, forced his way into the team, even when Gudmundsson is in the team. He scored another one. And from a Lazio perspective, Nicola Rovella did not start this game. They were abysmal in the first half without him. I would say that both goals, I can't say they wouldn't have happened if he was on the pitch, but both goals did come from positions where Rovella would have occupied. On the first one, Fiorentina put a cross into the box, and it was 3 wide open Fiorentina players at the top of the box. Adli just so happened to run onto it and hit an absolute screamer of a volley, but he literally had time to take it down and pass it to somebody. That is literally where Nicola Rovella plays on the field, and he probably would have been there to at least put something on it. And then on the second one, very similar. Nobody in the box, wide open header for Beltran to put away. And then in the second half, Rovella comes on. Huge difference. They played much better. They ended up getting a goal. Another big thing about this is Nuno Tavares did not play, and they had so many attacks from the left side of the field that did not have a good final ball. And Nuno Tavares consistently plays key passes. If he plays this game, I think it's a draw 2-2.
I mean, they also got quite unlucky at the end there, Lazio. I forgot who shot it, but they had a shot in like the 93rd or 94th minute that hit the inner part of the post and not go in the net. So it was like inches away from a tie game anyways. But Lazio suck, and they will fall apart here. And I'm willing to bet. Roma finish higher than Lazio. I will bet that.
You're not being serious.
I will bet
I'll put a
that.
jersey on it. I want to put a jersey on it.
All right, I'll put a jersey on that.
Can I get on
Roma
the jersey?
will finish higher than Lazio.
All right, jersey's on it. Already did it without legs.
Fuck. All right.
One
Well,
more
no,
thing
but
before we move on, because there was a debut from Folorunshu in this game, who was kind of like came off, was in the Euro squad, hasn't really played at all for Napoli, moves to Fiorentina, started off the right for Colpani, who was hurt, but has had a relatively slow season. It was a guy that we highlighted. He brought a lot of different things from Colpani, a lot more high energy, can kind of come inside more. And just something different for Palladino to use, and it obviously worked well in this game. So just want to highlight that it's a guy to watch.
Yeah,
and another
definitely.
guy that fits the bill, chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, true.
Didn't get the playing time, but that's what Fiorentina's made of.
Conte usually he has, like, just like you said it. He saw Scott McTominay. He has players that he gets in his brain, and if they're not the right player, he'll just let him go. I think this is a good player, and he will play well at Fiorentina. And I'm just gonna throw this stat out here. I don't know if you guys knew this. Did you know that when Conte was on Inter, I can't remember the midfielder that he was like, I want this guy. I get him at anything at all costs. Get him. I wish I could remember who it was, but in order to get him, they needed to sacrifice somebody, and they sacrificed a young Sandro Tonali because Conte forced Inter to get this midfielder that I can't think of. It's probably like not McTominay. It's probably Mkhitaryan or somebody like that. Conte just.
How did you turn this into a Conte segment?
I don't know how you did either. You just
because what's it called? He let that player go. Fiorentina.
Well,
fair. And just to wrap up, I have one more thing, sorry, on Fiorentina that I just want to point out because we haven't talked about them enough this year, and they absolutely deserve it. I think they're both in the running for team of the season. Robin Gosens and Dodo are having amazing seasons on Fiorentina. They don't have the same numbers as like Dumfries or Nuno Tavares or Federico DiMarco or even Gio Di Lorenzo, but they're doing so much for this team and allowing them to attack so high and other players to push up high and then come back and defend. Just like classic outside backs, really. That's it. They're like classic fullbacks that we don't really see that much anymore.
Gosens going back to his form when he played for Germany.
Yeah.
Germany's best player, may I add, in that year in that international competition.
Tore his ACL.
Do we know how old Dodo is?
He's not 30 yet.
He's not.
They bought him 2 or 3 years ago from Shakhtar.
He's 26.
From Shakhtar. He wasn't like a small buy. He wasn't a small buy. I've said that before, but Dodo is a good player, and I think that
Juventus might have to go to their feeder squad and go get him. Juventus outside backs are brutal.
Leave Laviola alone, finally, please.
All right, I just had to shout them out. I really. There's so many players this year that there's not enough time to talk about everybody. There's so many guys that I loved. But the last 2 games happened. This was today, actually. Both games happened. So we're recording on Monday. Hellas Verona went to Venezia. I don't know if I could say it's the hardest place in the league to play anymore, but it was a 1-1 draw. Verona trending a little bit better. They were terrible for a while, and they're getting a couple more points on the board. Venezia, they're done. They're going down. The other team that's definitely going down, Monza today lost to Genoa 2-0. Patrick Vieira's Genoa ripping right now.
Patrick Vieira, baby.
Yeah, it's funny because I think all of us and a lot of other people in the league thought that Gilardino was a great manager and it was like a questionable fire, but not looking too questionable anymore with how much they are firing on all cylinders over there in Genoa.
Yeah.
Also, I'll just throw this one other thing out there. Kevin De Winter, another one of the Juventus' young products that we decided to give away, got to go. So
there are too many guys. That wraps up match week 22. We're going to take you quickly through the matchups this weekend. We've got Lecce going to Parma, Venezia at Udinese, Verona at Monza, Torino going to Atalanta, Como at Bologna. That's going to be a really exciting game. Every Como game is a really exciting game. That's why I love that. Empoli at Juve. Empoli at Juve is a shoe-in for a draw. Genoa going to Fiorentina, the Milan derby, Napoli, Roma, and then it rounds out with Lazio going to Cagliari.
I think I have to talk about the Milan derby. Obviously, this is where, and this will be the second matchup since Conceição has been at the helm. Really need to see the same consistency that we've seen for the first 2 matches that we played into now. This could. The problem is you have to discount any result out of this one because there's just so much heart and fire already embedded in the game that the aftermath might not even mean that much because this is just a whole different setup. I want the win. Inter's in phenomenal form, but you go to San Siro and you're playing the other guys there. I don't know, man. 2-2.
This is a Conceição is built for these big games. Success in the Champions League, like he knows how to fire up his group. I think you guys will be mentally prepared. It's just going to come down to like players on the pitch and execution. Yeah,
I think Inter's going to get this one done. But that's match week 23. We got one last segment.
Colpi di Luna.
Colpi's back. Our 3-leg parlay.
2 in a row?
We're
2 in
saying
a
it's
row?
hot. We're saying it's hot. I'm going to kick it off because I'm hot as well. I haven't talked about them enough this episode, so I had to make them my pick. Atalanta -1.5 going to Torino. No, they're at home? That can't be right, Lugs. Did you put this on here?
They're at home.
Are you sure about? Double check that. Fact check that. But I've got Atalanta -1.5 against Torino. I'm pretty sure they're away. That's coming in at +122. I just saw insane value there. Atalanta always scores 2 goals, and Torino rarely scores goals.
Confirmed at Jewish Stadium.
Oh, it's in Atalanta? Okay, this is a trap bet, 100%, but I'm taking it anyway. Atalanta -1.5 at home against Torino, +122. I don't know how it's possible.
It's a trap.
Yeah.
It's a trap. But we're hot. That's why you bet the Colpi. All the legs. I'm following my call here, 2-2 with the Derby di Milano. Both teams to score -142. This is always a shootout. I don't remember the last time that there was less than 2 goals in this game. And I do think that both teams have the firepower to get it done, especially at their home stadium. So both teams to score -142. Motts, what do you got?
I had Lazio money line as my leg, but because I just said what I said, and I think that Roma will finish above them, I'm gonna do a different leg, and I'm going to pick Fiorentina, Genoa over 2.5 -105. So I just fucked up the value there.
I'm crunching the numbers right now. You guys can discuss.
That's
I
on
think
me.
+640 is going to be the end goal there, but that's a tough pick, Motts. That's a tough pick. I like it though. Genoa's hot. Fiorentina
That's what I'm saying.
plays well.
Genoa score goals.
There could be a lot of goals in this game.
Fiorentina always score goals. Genoa has been figuring out how to get wins or at least points and goals. So I think that, and I ride these over 2.5s. I've been riding with them. I'm sticking with Old Reliable.
Daddy over.
And the
Daddy
nice
over.
105 -105 +100.
Don't like this pick.
Good.
I don't like
that makes
it.
me like it even more.
Patrick Vieira is really, really good at getting clean sheets. So that's why I don't love it. And Logue's pick, I love that.
It might be the best pick of the season, really.
I think mine is. I feel really good about this one.
It's the biggest trap bet of all time. But
I've crunched the
as
numbers.
you guys know.
I've crunched the numbers.
As you guys know. Go ahead.
We're coming in
Let
at
'em know.
plus 656. Another fat Colby.
Fat Colby, you guys know the deal. You bet all the legs, you bet them singly, you parlay them, you round robin it. Doesn't matter. You make money because that's what we do with Calcio Culture. We put the DraftKings money in your pocket. Unlike Roger Goodell, who took all of my money and put it in his own pocket, we put it into yours. You bet the Colby every week, week in, week out. Get on the train.
Thanks, Lux. Thanks for saying that. We're done. That was a good one.
Great episode.
Great episode.
That's a wrap.
Lugs.
That is a wrap.
You don't even need Lugs. Everybody knows we're Lugs at this point. Motts.
Calcio Culture, Instagram, Twitter at Calcio Culture FC. Thanks for coming on this ride with us, Paisanos.
5 stars.
5
5
stars.
stars, please.
Do not be a gagoots and Forza Calcio Culture.